Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whereverabouts we are in the world today. Thank you ever so much for joining me for another reboot with Claire on the Mental Health Warriors. I'm going to be joined...
No, you're not going to be joined by me, Claire, because I'm taking over today. See you in a minute. Good morning.
What? What?
Sorry for that little surprise, but you've been on the Warriors a while now, and you've had your own show, and it's been smooth sailing. You've had us on, but now it's time to put you under the spotlight.
Oh no! Oh, okay.
I mean, we did say it was going to happen at some point.
You did. Yeah, you did.
It was going to happen. We just didn't know when it was going to. Well, now we do.
Okay. Right. What am I getting myself ready for? I'm nervous now. It's very strange suddenly not being in the driving seat.
It is strange, isn't it? I mean, I'm yet to have it happen to me. It's going to feel weird when I do it. I'm like, oh no. But I enjoy taking over other people's shows. I mean, I did it with Steve Knapp when he was part of the Warriors. Obviously, he's gone now. He was supposed to get me back for that, but he never did.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Right. So I imagine you've got a lot of questions and things you want to ask.
We're going to ask about you. I've got nothing prepared like I normally do. I'm just going to fire off things that come into my head. So the first thing is we're going to tell you about you. Where did your journey to being a warrior start?
Oh my goodness, that's a heck of a question to start off with. You didn't exactly warm me up for that, did you? So my journey towards becoming a warrior actually started. A lot of the pre-stuff leading up to it started about 4 or 5 years ago, to be honest. I went through a very challenging personal patch, which then led to me feeling this like newer, invigorated rebirth of myself. Which led to me becoming a wellbeing coach, very much in a nutshell, of course. There's a lot to it. But then I became this coach, and I've done this for probably about 3-4 years. It's hard to tell because the years go past so quickly, of course. And then I got like almost headhunted by Adam, who Facebook messaged me out of the blue, offering me this marvelous opportunity just before last Christmas. So hence why we're here today. I thought I'll take a shot and do it.
Yeah. And now we're baby warriors together. That's Adam's new nickname for us.
It's weird. It's weird to think.
Yeah, we are the younger.
But here's the thing about me.
Well,
yeah, here's the thing about me. I'm an old soul. So I've always felt like my age has had to catch up with my mental age. Now I've gotten to 30. I feel like it's kind of almost aligned. It's kind of almost aligned because I've always felt older than my years actually were. But even now, I still get called a baby. I still get like, oh, you're so young, you've got plenty of time. And I'm like, no. It's not the same.
Yeah, so, Adam calls us the baby warriors because obviously we are the youngest of the warrior team.
Fair enough.
Well, the baby warriors are going to have some fun while I interview you.
We're representing the youngsters in the house here. That was terrible.
Yeah, we're the youngsters.
Yeah.
Sorry for my terrible thing, but
hang on, are you younger than me or older?
Older.
Right.
I went 30 in November.
You went 30. You went over to the 30 side.
I went 30 in November, yes.
Nice. Okay, cool. Okay, so you're a little bit.
I'm not the true baby. I mean, I'm the baby of my family, but I'm not the baby of the Warriors because you are.
Yeah, see, I'm not the baby of my family. I'm the oldest sister out of 2, but I'm the middle sister of 4.
No, I'm the baby.
Yeah, so it's weird. So I always feel like I'm the older sister out of my brother and I. I sound really common then. But then I'm the youngest sister out of all four of us because I've got an older stepbrother and an older stepsister. So
yeah. I was going to come on to that. Tell us about your family background. Is your relationship with your parents positive or negative?
that's a question. So starting off with my wonderful mum. My mum has been such an influence to me throughout my life. When I was younger, I was quite poorly with epilepsy. So, you know, she, in a nutshell, again, she made sure that I went into mainstream education. You know, she made sure that I got all the professional starts that I could in life, as well as was obviously constantly by my side, making sure that people didn't, you know, treat me differently as a result of my epilepsy. I did eventually grow out of it around the age of 12. So it was put at an assumption that it was a childhood form of epilepsy. But obviously, as a result of those experiences, it's really impacted my understanding and my, you know, it's always given me like a different perspective on life, you know, and certainly around the abilities that I have. You know, I often say to people, you know, you might have X, Y, and Z, but that doesn't mean you can't do stuff. You might have this challenge, but that doesn't mean you're incapable. You know, it's a part and parcel of who you are. It's part of your story, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't get on with life and do as well as you possibly can. So I'm very grateful for that start in life, because it's really given me that deeper understanding and that less judgment towards people who have a difficulty of thought. I don't often go into detail about my biological father because I don't really have him in my life. He's one of those people I had to tell him I don't want him in my life a few years ago now. So he's not been a positive influence. He's not really been in my life. It's not really a massive loss, if I'm honest. Yeah. And then my mum remarried when I was about, I don't even know, it's hard to tell. When was that, like 2000? Anyway, it was early 2000s.
She remarried.
Yeah, early 2000s, yeah. So she's remarried. My stepdad and I have a challenging relationship because we have very different understandings of life. He's very fixed in his ways, and I'm very modern and growth orientated and things like that. So we do butt heads at times, but I also have fairly nice memories with him. Watching things like Ray Mears in my lunch break at school, and we watched what else did we watch? There was something else, How It's Made, things like that. So it was really fascinating to see like even how hinges and nuts and bolts and things like that were put together. So there's some nice memories there as well, which is pretty cool. And then obviously my younger brother, he's about 2 years younger than me. He's in the world of finance. He's a very switched on lad. He's a good person, all this. We always come together when there's something going on in life. And he's a nice kid. Bless him. he's a good lad.
He's a good person to hang around with all this cost of living crisis that we're having on at the moment.
Oh yeah, he's got a lot of things to say about that. Believe me. Well, I remember we went on a car journey. Yeah, because obviously we met up recently for my grandma's funeral, didn't we? And the car journey was just him having like a little monologue about the state of affairs in the world, and when he just sat there a bit like.
I'm just going to nod and agree because I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's funny because I'm quite an opinionated person. I'm quite strong-minded in the things that I care about and all that. But I try not to get into like heated debates with people because I was trying to approach it from a level of understanding of what they think and what I think. That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to be confrontational about it. And obviously you've got to look at it in a way of my brother and I are quite strong-minded people, so it's better not to get involved in those debates because we can really butt heads. Anyway.
Yeah, you know what? I can agree with that because obviously you asked me and Adam our opinion on a certain matter. I'm not going to go into it. And, you know, it was interesting because you said you wanted to hear what our opinion was, and then you gave us your opinion, and we agreed that, you know, while our opinions are different, none of them are right, none of them are wrong, because that's the way that we are. That's our opinions, and we're fully entitled to have our own opinions. And if everybody agreed on everything, the world would be a boring place.
It would, and we wouldn't have progression. We wouldn't have development of new ideas. We wouldn't have new approaches. We wouldn't have new perspectives, all that stuff. So I do think it's important to keep an open mind. I always think it's important to keep an open mind because you can understand it from someone else's perspective and how that might differ and how that might lead up with an idea becoming investigated that someone else might not have even thought of. Innovation, dear Watson, and all that stuff. But at the same time, you know, I do find it really hard to, you know, talk to people who have a very fixed mindset and they don't sort of see another perspective. That's where it becomes difficult for me, and I choose not to engage in this conversation because I kind of think, well, why waste my energy, you know?
Yeah. While you're on the subject of an open mind, obviously you're going to have an open mind for this because it's going to go really deep.
Oh dear. I'm glad I'm sat down.
Yeah. What was your darkest hour within your life?
Oh, you really have gone there, haven't you? The darkest hour in my life.
Yeah. So when you was at the most lowest in your life, tell us about that.
Okay. I was at the lowest in my life when I'd come out of a narcissistically abusive relationship. I moved across the country to get away from that relationship and to just live my life because there were a lot of things that I hadn't pursued. So decided to basically start afresh. And I was struggling very badly with CPTSD, having made flashbacks. I was, you know, very much in a bad place, very much in a bad place. And I tried to top myself a few times. So that's putting it lightly, of course, but as a result of those experiences, and unfortunately, you know, I kind of lost who I was completely. It took a long time for me to get back from that place, long time. But yeah, that was definitely my darkest hour. And you know, putting one foot in front of the other, just trying to say, just keep going, just keep going. It's a very frightening place to be. So yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. Thanks for sharing that with us.
No, that's okay.
No, because this is why I jump onto other people's shows and ask these questions so that we get to know the warriors, so the viewers can get to know the warriors a lot more, so that we can get to know each other a bit more as well.
Yeah, that's right. But I think the most important part of that is I came out of that part of my journey, or that chapter, as it were, vowing that I would never allow anyone else to feel alone. I would never allow anyone else to feel like I did. It's one of those, you know, you go through the experience and you're like, I'm stronger than this. I've got so much more to give. You realise what that is that you have to give. You step into your higher self, but then you also say, I'm never going to let anyone feel alone if they're in that headspace. Never.
Yeah. So would you say going through that dark patch has made you thankful that you have been through that, because now you're more understanding, you're more caring about people?
I mean, I've always been very caring about people, but to the detriment of myself. I've often put myself last in situations. So I wouldn't say that that's necessarily changed, but my boundaries with myself and my self-respect and my putting myself first has become a lot more prominent now. You know, I had to have stronger boundaries with people because people were always making too many demands of me and I couldn't be everywhere at once. And it was always like, you know, people who didn't understand that I just needed to have a bit of time for myself because I can't always deal with their demands all the time. If they don't understand, they don't respect you. And if they don't respect you, then you've got to make a decision, haven't you? You've got to make a decision that ultimately leads to your happiness, rather than being at the beck and call of people all the time, just making you miserable. So yeah, boundaries in myself have been, you know, I'm a lot more stronger in them. I'm a lot more, you know, confidently spoken, you know, and I'm much more able now, much more switched on to be able to say, right, that's going to waste my energy. I'm not doing that. Or that's something I need to concentrate on right now. I need to do this, you know, and you make those decisions much earlier on so that you don't go down these wormholes.
Yeah.
And I think that's something I'm incredibly grateful for, definitely.
Yeah. And of course, obviously, we had the whole discussion about boundaries on your show a few weeks ago.
Yeah. So important. I think the thing is people often underestimate them. People often think, oh, well, you know, I just need to say no because I don't want to do that at the moment. It's not about that. It's about having the power in yourself to say, that's not going to serve me right now. That will have to wait. You know, and it's so much. As soon as you grasp and you take in boundaries as a real fundamental in your mindset, you actually prevent yourself from going into situations that you really don't want to be involved in. You know, you stop accepting toxic friendships. You stop accepting the way that some people talk to you because you're like, actually, I don't really like the way you talk to me. Blah, blah, blah. And you have a conversation about it. If they don't respect that based on that conversation, you can make a decision about it.
Yeah.
But it's dealing with things a lot more objectively, almost, and without feeling like you have to be pulled down by them all the time. There's so much to boundaries that is so important and so important to grasp. Definitely.
Yeah, there is, you know, and obviously a part of the Warriors is when we come up with an idea for a show, we share that idea with the Warriors that we think might be better suited for that idea. And then obviously we put it out to all the Warriors and say, look, this is the idea we've got. Would anybody be interested? Or, are you available this time? We try not to tread on each other's boundaries. So we understand that sometimes we might need to take a couple of days where we step back a little bit just to have that time away and then come back with a big smiley face.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like giving you the opportunity to recharge, isn't it? Because if someone's like really busy, there's a lot going on in life and all that, they can't give what you're asking of them their full attention, you know, and they don't want to disrespect that. So they might say, yeah, I'll do it anyway. But at the same time, they might be thinking, I really can't take that on right now because I haven't got the headspace for it. So it's about them making that judgment as much as them communicating that with you.
Yeah.
And saying, I can't take this on right now.
Yeah, and obviously one of the brilliant examples was we knew that you'd recently lost your grandma and that you're going to need that space. So we gave you that week off. Say, look, forget your show that week. We'll cancel your show that week. You go and have some time for you. Spend some time with your family. Say goodbye to your grandma and take the week for you. And then you came back with a big smiley face.
I did, yeah, because I had that opportunity to spend the week just recharging, literally spending time with people in my life. People who I might have often felt like I've lost contact with. You know, my cousins and I now have this massive group chat with all of us in there. And literally, I like message the group and suddenly ping, everyone's like having a giggle. We've got really similar sense of humour and it's fantastic. It's great. It's great to have that and cultivate and, you know, look after those relationships.
Yeah, I couldn't have that with my cousins because it'd be forever. I mean, I'd put one message in the mornings, come back to it a couple hours later, and there'd be like 6,000 messages. And, oh my God.
The mute button is absolutely invaluable. So important. If you can't do it at that point in time, you just have to read back over 200 and something messages.
I couldn't do that. I mean, the fact that I've got too many cousins. I mean, my dad is one of 6. My mum is one of 5. There's not many cousins on my mum's side. There's more on my dad's side. But then each child has got children. Those children have got children. So it's like we're multiples.
Yeah, it's similar to mine. Literally similar to mine. Even like my cousins have children now, and it's like it's mad, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. You know, the cousins that you grew up with and you thought they're never going to settle down are suddenly married with a child. And it's like, when did they grow up?
Yeah. I look at some of my younger cousins and I'm like, what, you're grown up now? What? When did that happen?
Yeah. And while we're on happy memories, what's your favourite memory of growing up?
Wow. You don't go in by halves, do you? You literally go for wow. My favourite memory of growing up. See, I often think about the senses when I think about favourite memories. There's certain smells and there's certain sounds and things like that always bring me back to a happier time. So my favourite memory, wow. There's so many. That's not fair. There's so many.
You'd like to choose one. Maybe it's like a family holiday that you went on or something.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favourite family holidays we used to go on when we were younger was we used to go to a place called Pentley Park in North. Not sure if people know about it or not, but it's a fantastic little family campsite. We went about 5-6 years on the trot, and it's very, very close to like Hunstanton and Great Yarmouth and all those sort of places. So that was our family holiday. We often took the big family tent and just, pitched it up in the corner, and we'd have like mini boxes of cereal, the little boxes of Kellogg's or Nestle, and we'd sit around, we'd just enjoy watching the world go by and talk to people and have a fantastic time. And then I also picked up an interesting kite surfing thanks to that family holiday. So I then, started getting all the gear and taking lessons and things like that as well. So there's a lot to be thankful for from that family holiday. Wonderful memory.
Were you one of these families that roasted marshmallows over a fire at night times?
Of course. It's got to be done. It's got to be done. Yeah, definitely.
Who doesn't like marshmallows? So it's not something I can do as a family. I can do it with my kids. But I can't do it with Adam because he doesn't like marshmallows. It's weird. Okay.
You can always do something else. Like, you don't have to do marshmallows. It's just about the experience, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't think I'd take them camping because we went camping. Me and Adam had only just got our first house together, and we'd, took delivery of our first bed. It was a brand new bed, and it was the first time that we'd actually bought a piece of furniture together other than reception. And it was we're just kitting out our new house, and we literally went to Argos, bought like loads of things, and dumped it in the living room. Like, what do we do now? Takeaway.
Oh yeah, it's got to be done, isn't it? Nice.
And then we got dragged camping, and I'm like, but we've got a brand new bed to sleep in. Why do I want to go sleep in a tent? I just so wanted to just jump in the brand new bed and think,
yeah.
Ended up being frozen in a tent.
Yeah. It's cool though, isn't it? Because I always like the fact about camping is you really go back to basics and you really realise how much stuff you have that you don't necessarily need because that's not the stuff that you've had to survive with the last 2 or 3 nights, But yeah, camping for me was a really, really fun pastime. And I remember like school camp up until like year 6 or something. We were invited to go to school camp. And I recently referenced to this actually when I was talking to someone in my social circles, and they said, "What's a game you remember from when you were younger that isn't really a thing anymore?"
Are you going to tell us now then?
Yeah, Bat and Moth. And Bat and Moth was a game we played on school camp where it's like hide and seek, right? So you play it pitch black, play it in the dark. Obviously, people are allowed to have torches and things like that. But you used to go and hide in the woods. And the moths were the people that hid, and they would whisper under their breath. So they'd at least have an idea about where they were, because obviously pitch black, you can't see a thing. And the seekers were the one that said bat, 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 bat as loudly as they could, so that they knew that they were coming to look for them. And that was a fantastic game. Fantastic game. Great game to play with a big group of people. And yeah, it was a really, really good memory. As well as building dens, of course. School camp, we had a competition of who could build the best den. So that was very cool as well. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm often like thinking back to the times that you build like cushion forts for the sofa and things like that. Like, this works. You have a good foundation, and then everything else builds on top of it. Pop a little tumble in.
Yeah, you know what? That was one of the things that we had to do with Tegan for Rainbows. We had to build a camp. So instead of going outside with a tent or anything like that, because the weather wasn't very nice at that time anyway, we decided to get the settee in the chair, and we made a fort inside the house. So we had, we got the little snacks and some drinks, and we got all the quilt covers put over the chair and the settee, and we made a fort, and we all sat inside and read a book. And we had to take a picture of us in the tent reading a book for a brownie badge. She loved it. They spent the whole afternoon. She even ended up having their tea in it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, they're some of the best memories as well. Like the little things, you remember stuff like that more than you do the big stuff sometimes, don't you? So it's good.
Yeah.
Good memories to have. Go on then, fire another question at me. I'm ready. I've got my caffeine. I'm ready.
Where do you see yourself in 12 months' time?
Do you know what? That's a good question, actually. 12 months' time, I see myself living in a wonderful home with my wonderful partner and my wonderful kids. Having the ability to, travel. We're going to be building a business together. And, just making the big things happen, really. Because we're very good at putting in the grind and the time when it's necessary. But, of course, you always have to realise what you're doing it for. And reminding yourself as well, that, this is the steps we have to take, but this is the bigger picture we're actually working towards. And that's what keeps you going. That's what keeps you motivated, isn't it? So, in 12 months' time, I would love to think we've got our own little cushy place. We've got the animals around us, and we've also got the flexibility to be able to say, do you know what, let's go away for a few days. Let's go and just do something that's just us, and that'd be amazing. Thank you.
Brilliant. We've had a question. Where do you see yourself and the Warriors in 2 years' time?
That's like two questions in one, I think. So I see myself in 2 years' time. I try not to think that far ahead, but I try to always give myself workable goals and objectives to know about the sort of person that I want to be, and the things that I would be proud to have achieved in that time. But the Warriors, I would say, I'd love to think that the Warriors is going to be something that grows even more, and that's able to offer, experience and tutorials and workshops and things like that people can really get a lot from. Because obviously these shows are wonderful, people get an awful lot from them, but it would be great to have it as like more of an educational platform as well. For people to give them workable structure. And especially when you're talking about mental health. Mental health is something that people can come to you in all sorts of different places along their journey. But you've got to be able to offer them something that, they can use to help themselves out of the crisis, or they can use to help themselves move forward from that. So, I don't think that that's something that Warriors is going to develop into in time.
There you go, Adam. There's another idea for us. I mean, we are going to branch out and do workshops. That's why me and Adam are busy in the backgrounds doing our credentials so that we can work towards doing these doing these workshops. We are very busy in the backgrounds doing them.
And that's the thing, as a coach as well, you're always busy in the background doing things like that, aren't you? And you've got a wealth of experience around, so many different specialisms. And I think it would be something that would be really good to actually utilise. So, that's what I can imagine.
I mean, one of the things that we are going to look forward to is maybe in the next few years is taking the mental health warriors into live shows so that people can come to them and we can speak about the experiences we've been through, the things that we used, and so that we can connect with people on a face-to-face basis, and we can go up and down the country. So we can come down towards where you are. We can go up to Scotland. We can go over to Ireland.
Exactly. I mean, amazing. I can certainly hook you up with places and venues and things like that. So, I know quite a few public speakers myself, and certainly in terms of giving tips and things like that. There's a lot of people who would really, really be able to help us out with that. So.
That is one of the things that we want to look into, taking the Warriors live. But again, we want to get the credentials done first.
Absolutely.
So it could be, at the moment, the Warriors is just an internet show at the moment. But then in the next year, 2 years, it goes live into the public on a face-to-face business up and down the country.
That's amazing.
I mean, we don't know how that would work with the kids and schooling, but we'll work that out. We can work things like that out.
There's also the fact, of course, that people are all over the country anyway, or all over the world. So you could actually have like the Warriors in their various locations just going, representing the mental health Warriors and doing a talk.
Yeah, exactly. And again, we can work all those things out. I mean, there's all these different things that are popping in my head now to do it.
I know. I'm the same. I'm like,
but we could do this, but we could do that. We're going to have a chat with Adam about that one because obviously he's the boss.
cool.
Well,
right.
he thinks he's the boss.
Do you want to pick my brain a little bit more? Because I think actually now we're here, you might as well make the most of this opportunity.
Yeah. How did you know that you were into girls? If you don't mind.
Question. You don't do things by half at all, do you? Seriously, Kerry, right? Seriously.
Well, it's one of those questions, that's something about you. That's something about you that that is amazing.
Thank you.
And it boosts the fact, and exactly, and it boosts the fact that we are not just stuck with male and female relationships. We know that two men can have a beautiful relationship and create families, and two women can as well.
Yeah, and there's still like pockets of people who don't necessarily get exposed to same-sex relationships as well. So thank you for asking that question. It's hard to think because the way I see it is like it was a journey for me. Okay. I had an inkling when I was around hitting puberty. Between 12 and 14, I had a bit of an inkling. But obviously that wasn't necessarily something that I'd really kind of investigated that much because I'm quite poorly, blah, blah, blah. And then started to have my own thoughts and my own kind of, identity was forming and things like that. I remember certainly having... I suppose quite intense friendships when I was younger with girls. Quite intense, and certainly on the emotional side of things. The relationships that I formed were like very, very, very close to the point of being almost like not family, but you know what I mean? Like it was that kind of level of close. Yeah. And without going into too much, I fell in love for the first time when I was about 14.
Was that with a girl?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was something that it felt very, very different to my regular friendships. It was something that felt very, very intense to me, felt very, very deep, and all of that stuff. And it was a big, big eye-opening moment for me. And I went, I'm definitely not straight. But the interesting part of it is obviously I lived out all those years, and I kind of made what I could with that information and tried my best not to make an absolute numpty of myself around this person and all the rest of it, as you do. And then I moved away from home because I realised that quite a lot of my life had become about looking after family members or waiting for people to come back and all that sort of thing. And I was like, I'm not going out there and living my life. I'm not doing that at the moment. So at 22 I moved away from home. Didn't put a lot of thought into it. I just knew I didn't want to be where I was anymore. And funnily enough, during that time, people looked at me and they were like, "You're not straight, are you?" And I was like, "You can tell." you can tell. Like, it's that obvious. It's like, but I was so in the closet at that point that I didn't realise it was that obvious for people to see. And then, of course, started hanging out with more people. I started being comfortable around it. And then before I knew it, I was like, I'm gay. Everybody, I'm gay. I knew it. It's such a weight's been lifted. And then, I just got on with living my life after that. I became an activist. So I became like someone who everyone could talk to about their living in the closet or coming out and all that sort of thing. And it just became such a wonderful experience for me, just embracing that part of myself where I felt like this is who I am. And I always felt, I'll tell you what, this is telling you something now. I always felt like there was like a pit in my stomach that was always in a knot. Yeah, it was in a knot, and it felt like there's something in me that I'm just not comfortable with. And it got to a point where it got so unbearable that it just had to come out. Yeah. And that was it. It went after that. It came out. I came out. And the rest is history, really. That's it, you know. I'm very comfortable with my sexuality. I'm very happy. I walk around holding my partner's hand, you know, and I'm not shy about PDA and all that. And at the end of the day, it's just who I am. Like, we either love it or see you later.
Exactly. And obviously here on the Warriors, you know, we try and include everybody. So we don't exclude somebody because of their sexuality. We try and include them as much as possible. And obviously you're not the only gay in our little family. Kerry Berries. And Karen Unruh was when she was with us. We're hoping we might have Karen Unruh back at some point, maybe. So we are a very diverse group.
Yeah, but you don't have to go into it that much as well, I think, Kerry. Like, the way that I see it is that, you know, I'm just me. Yeah, I just want to be able to go about my life and not have to sort of mention anything, or have to sort of explain myself or anything like that. And the way that I see it is, you know, if I walk up to someone and say I've got a girlfriend, it doesn't need to be an extra conversation. That's the way that I see it. I want it to be such a comfortable experience that people could just be like, oh, so my girlfriend this, or oh, my boyfriend that. And it not have to provoke extra questions. Yeah. Just be like, oh, so where did you meet? Oh, amazing. Oh, wonderful. It's nice to meet you. And yeah, I still find myself in these situations where guys think it's appropriate to ask, like, you know, those additional uncomfortable questions. You're like, you wouldn't just meet someone and walk up and ask them about their sex life, would you? That's weird.
Yeah, no.
And when they look at it from the other way around, like, I often turn it around on them and say, oh, so have you ever had sex with a man? How was it? You know, and all this. And they look at me as if to go, oh, no. And I'm like, well, you don't go around asking other people about their sex life, do you? That's weird.
No, that's why.
Now they realise it's weird when you start doing that, and you're like,
how did your family react when you did actually come out?
That was the funniest thing of all, right? Imagine this about, like, you know, just having like a for goodness sake moment. So I came out, I moved across the country, came back, made a very grand show of it ultimately, and then eventually I felt like I've made myself comfortable enough to be able to come back and talk to the people who are actually in my life about it. Right, so I was having this conversation with my mum. I remember sort of broaching it previously in my life, but blocking it out because she was a bit like, oh yeah, wait and see, you know, whatever. We sat in the car, I was chucking it down with rain. I was about to go to an after-school club, and, you know, she was a bit like, oh, yeah, wait and see, you know. And that was it. It was just shut down. I just thought, I can't say that again. It was so uncomfortable. But later on, of course, when I was 22, you know, I'd done all this. I'd had the big announcement, the grand gesture and all the rest of it. And I came back and I was like, I need to talk to my actual family about this now. I need to start talking to the people who are closest to me. And do you know what my mum said?
Go on.
I was in the car crying on the phone to her. Wanted to do it face to face, of course, but, you know, I was crying my eyes out. There was a bit of an issue going on. I think, ironically enough, it might have been girl related. And I said, I'm into girls, Mum. And she went, I know. What?
Yeah.
You know? She's like, I've known since you were about 14, my lovely. Really? You didn't tell me? She was like, that was your journey to go along. That was your story to tell. Like, you know, I've known for ages. But yeah, you needed to do it. I was like...
So they were all very accepting of it.
Yeah. To be honest, I wasn't expecting anything there. And kind of like older relatives, I was a little bit nervous about, because you never know what their approach on things might be. You never know if they're quite like fixed in their mindsets and all that. But even that was like, yeah, that's okay. I just introduced my partner at the time, and I said, yeah, blah blah blah. There was a few things that they said that, again, you could say are pretty weird, to be honest. You know, like to people who are in the older generation, who say, oh, you know, this is Claire's friend, and I'm like, no. There are things about this relationship that are more than friends. But you just kind of think that's their way of like justifying it. That's their way of trying to make sense of it, isn't it? And eventually they get to a stage where they're a bit more comfortable with saying, oh, you know, how's everything? Are you happy and all this? And it gets there. You just have to give people time because they have to go through a process of understanding as well, don't they? As much as you do with yourself. So,
yeah. And how did you meet your lovely partner?
Funny story. It's a great question. So, I met my wonderful partner through a group during lockdown. We were all put into this chat group. You know, we all knew each other from various different pages and things like that. And we all got put into this group to try and keep each other going, to try and keep each other, you know, positive. We ended up calling it the Empowerment Squad and all of that stuff. I think that was my idea, actually, to call it that. So I was like, I just need to label this chat as positivity. Empowerment chat is perfect. And, you know, we talked for like ages, it felt like. And yeah, it was, you know, it was all the natural stuff of eventually when, you know, lockdown was being lifted, there were no longer travel bans, you know, people would meet up in real life and stuff. My lovely partner, bless her, travelled over 200 miles overnight, I should add, to come and meet me. And in her words, it was for a McDonald's and a hug.
McDonald's.
She was like,
200 miles for a McDonald's and a hug.
I was like, there's definitely more to this than that. So anyway, she rocked up and I was nervous as anything. I was like, you know, obviously she travelled overnight, so I had to be like on call or whatever in case she got lost anywhere. And she rocked up at mine at 8:15 in the morning. She gave me a massive hug, and that was an amazing hug. I was like, I can't believe you just travelled overnight all the way across the country to come and see me. That's insane. And of course, the rest is history because things really like took off from there. I was nervous because I always remembered her being like one that just came out with inappropriate stuff, or like if people were having a bit of an in-depth chat, she was a bit like, I'm going to say something funny. But no, we have such a great relationship. Very deep, very meaningful, very loving. And we've both got incredible ambitions for our future and looking forward to what it's going to bring, you know. But, yeah.
When did you know that she was the one?
Stop asking me these questions. When did I know?
This is all about getting to know Claire. So we're getting to know Claire.
Yeah. When did I know that she was the one?
I know for a fact you're going to get me back for this.
That's a horrible question. But yeah. It's kind of like anything, isn't it? You kind of know at certain points you feel like you're more, you know, reassured by a person. A person feels more like home, you know, and all that. And it was all that kind of feeling that she gave me. Like, home is no longer a place, home is a person. And I don't remember where that started, but I know it was definitely within the first 6 months of our relationship. And yeah, I think ultimately that's what makes her different. She just feels like home to me.
Yeah, you know what? And that's exactly how Adam feels to me.
Yeah,
at night time, me and him will just switch the phones off, turn the laptop off after college, and then say, right, okay, chill out time before bed. You know, we'll watch like an hour of television. We're watching Peaky Blinders at the moment, so we'll watch an hour of Tommy Shelby. I love it. Yeah, you know, and when I'm led down and he's got his arm around me, I just feel like this is where I belong. I'm home.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. Like, you could be absolutely anywhere, but if you're with that person, you're home. Wonderful.
Exactly. So, my final question is there going to be a pitter-patter of mini Claires and mini Karens in the future?
Definitely don't let her hear you saying that.
So, is that not a conversation you two have had? Or?
Yeah, I don't think either of us want to birth children. No, I've not wanted to do that most of my life, and I've genuinely felt that since I you know, kind of could make that decision. I just thought, don't want to physically have children. I love animals. Animals are wonderful and all that. And to be honest, we want to have the ability to, I don't want to say have freedom, because people who do have children have their freedom as well.
Yes.
You know, but it's not really like a focus of ours. It's not something we've sort of planned on doing. So our plans are very much focused in another direction. But no, probably not. It's not something really.
And that's completely fine too. You're content with just being you and her together with your animals, and that's completely fine too.
Yeah. That's it.
How was that? So how was that? So was it as nerve-wracking as you imagined?
That was horrible, Kerry. Now the internet's going to know now the internet's going to know like all my most sensitive stuff. Like, what? I don't mind, you know, to be honest, if you can encourage people to be a little bit more authentic and open, I think this has been an incredible experience.
Yeah, and that's what we wanted to do. That's what we want to be able to do. We want to be able to tell people that, yeah, we're all right. You know, we do have a lot of laughs and everything like that. We try and make mental health as positive as we can by having a laugh, but we also get down to the nitty gritty. You know, we all have had our own dark experiences.
Yeah, definitely.
And we want to share those experiences in the hopes that it encourages other people to share their experiences.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's amazing as well. Like, you've really touched upon some parts of my life that I didn't really discuss openly on the internet. And thank you for doing that, because there's certain parts of my life that I don't always give an awful lot of credit to, or I don't always look at, to kind of look at how far I've come. And thank you very much. That's been an incredibly encouraging experience. Yeah, it's been nice.
Yeah, you look like you're gonna cry.
It's weird. I'm just gonna go and give Karen the biggest hug in a minute, because you know when you just realise you love someone so much. I'm gonna try not to be too much. I'm gonna give her a massive hug in a minute.
Yeah. Well, you go and give Karen a massive hug, and say hi to her from all the Warriors, and hopefully one day we will get to see Karen a little bit more, rather than just a head that bops up and down in the background.
But she sees this as my thing, so it's one of those that she's a bit like, no.
You never know, she might change her mind and come and say hello to us one point.
Yeah, she might.
The invitation's there for her whenever she feels she wants to, if she feels she wants to.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm going to let you do the last thing. Do you know what's coming up today?
Nope. Sorry, I don't. I've not read everything. I apologise.
Right, okay then. And then I'll do it then as final thing for host. 1 o'clock today, Kate May, the Mind Power Warrior, one of our newest warriors, welcomes Becky Chadburn onto MH Warrior TV for surviving domestic violence.
Oh,
so
amazing.
Keep an eye out for that.
Good. Very important to do.
Yep. Claire, you've been absolutely amazing. I've really enjoyed taking over your show.
I felt incredibly weird. Thank you. It feels weird. I feel like I'm out of control of this.
Yeah,
but it's been an incredible experience.
Yeah, and I'm going to put the invitation out to the mental health warriors. If any of the warriors want to come onto an audience with a queen, take over my show and put me under the spotlight, the invitation is there. I'm going to regret that.
Do it.
Have a word with Adam.
Yeah.
Right.
Great. Bye.
See you later, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Bye.